and welcome back to my channel. So today we're gonna have a little bit of a palette discussion. As some of you all may know, if you're following me on the Snapchat, I did receive 2 palettes from the brand Alter Ego. Unlike other PR I've received in the past via Octoly, these were not sent to me, you know, in exchange for review. They were just sent to me and they're like, hey, let us know your thoughts. This brand is cruelty-free and used to be available via the site Shop Hush that has since been discontinued, shut down, whatever, for whatever reason. They are a dupe brand, whereas they dupe the layouts of popular, more expensive palettes. We have Daydream right here, which is a very obvious, you know, dupe of the Huda Beauty new nude palette. And then the Goddess palette right here, which is a dupe for one of the Natasha Denona palettes, though I'm not sure which one. I was originally just gonna film a, you know, regular review. I was gonna do my eye makeup. I was gonna give y'all swatches. We're gonna talk about it because I do want to, like, because for a lot of reasons, I want to include less expensive eyeshadow for y'all and just products on a whole, because not everyone has the same budget. Not everyone can blow $65 or $100 on an eyeshadow palette. So if there are viable, you know, alternatives, then I want to be able to share them with y'all, whether they're yay or nay. However, spoiler alert, these are retail for $16 a piece on the Alter Ego website. I will leave that link down below. But unfortunately, these palettes just did not have it for me in the sense of pigmentation, in blendability, in wearability. They were just a bit underwhelming even for dupe palettes. And so instead of doing sort of a regular review like I would normally do, we're gonna do a bit of a discussion. I will talk about, you know, the hits and misses of these palettes while also kind of giving a more in-depth discussion on my opinion on dupe palettes on a whole, because I feel like the morality and ethics there is kind of a gray area. So starting off with kind of like the differentiation between a dupe palette, knockoff, whatever the term. Like I said, when Shop Hush was really a thing, they carried a multitude of brands that their key element was literally copy and pasting famous or popular eyeshadow palette layouts and then giving them to you for, you know, 50, 60, 70, 80% off the regular retail price. And in my opinion, while having, you know, more affordable options and, you know, things that are very similar that you can be like, oh, well, if you don't have the budget for this 45, 65, 50, whatever dollar palette, here's this one that's viable that you can get the same look with that's less expensive. While that is something that I completely and highly advocate for, because like I said, not everyone has the same budget, and makeup is a luxury. It is an expensive luxury no matter where you get it from, because if you think about it, even a lot of drugstore makeup is expensive if you think about what you're getting. While that is all well and good, if we remember kind of, I want to say maybe a year and a half ago, if my memory serves me right, Makeup Revolution, who is a brand that is much more mainstream, that is, I don't know if it's known for duping things, but they're known for kind of making more affordable, less obviously copied products, but things that are very similar to, say, the Too Faced Peach palette, the Too Faced chocolate bars, all of those in a more, as I keep saying, affordable and less obvious rip-off copy. They then came out with their, I believe they called it their Light and Shade palette, which was an all matte palette knockoff, and this time I will use the term knockoff of Kat Von D's Shade and Light Eye palette. Because in my mind, the difference between a dupe palette and the difference between a knockoff palette is a dupe is something that you look at and you're like, okay, all right, this has a lot of, you know, kind of the similar tones, the similar colors. If I buy this, I could probably get the same result as if I bought this one. A knockoff is when the company literally copies and pastes the color scheme, the layout, the styling of said eyeshadow palette or product, and then die cuts it into their own product, giving it different packaging, calling it something else. And personally, I have struggled a little bit with the whole concept, because a lot of y'all back when Shop Hush was a thing were like, oh, check out Bad Habit. I do have a highlighter palette from Bad Habit that is a dupe for the Anastasia and Beverly Hills Nicole Guerrero Glow Kit, which is really great quality. I absolutely love it. I keep it because it's a fantastic palette. I also did have, I believe also from Bad Habit, was a dupe of the Modern Renaissance, which was very good quality. You know, if you didn't have the budget for the Modern Renaissance, yeah, sure. And it wasn't an exact layout obviousness, though you could tell where they were getting inspiration from. Now, the sort of the problem that I have with this, let's take a moment. Obviously, yay, I was excited, you know, I asked you all, you know, should I do this? How do you feel? You know, and in the end, I want to be honest with y'all. Whether I get PR from any other company ever again, I don't care. I'm not going to trade my ethics and my morals for free anything. That's just not how we're gonna go. But these palettes are $16. I honestly do not recommend them. Because while these palettes are, you know, trying to be dupes of higher end palettes, what I feel like they're advocating is, oh, you can get the same experience with these palettes. Well, while the color stories are similar and you could get similar looks, the work you have to do to get there, I feel, isn't really worth it. With this palette here, I started off, I used these a couple different times. I started off with Bubbly here, had to build it up a lot. And then every other shade I used after was just lacking in the pigmentation, in the blendability. It tended to like crease real quick. And the one thing I noticed with the darker shades, as I would like lay them on a lighter shade, I would pack it on, right? Because we couldn't just blend. That was not a thing. So I'd go to pack it on, and then I would start doing the cute little blendy thing, you know, blended into oblivion. The pigment that we did have stay there was just kind of stuck there. And then I noticed with some of the darker colors, I would go to blend it away, and in places it would remove itself as well as the pigment underneath it. So these are not mattes that I would consider to be a good or nice or reliable formula to work with. The shimmers, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one, those are amazing. A lot of shimmers are super easy to formulate. They are beautiful. The conceal shade, I guess, is okay. I mean, it's a cheap cream concealer shade. But the majority of the mattes in this palette were just not worth it, even for $16. And then the Goddess palette here, once again, the shadows simply took an extended period of time to build up. They were not easy or fun to blend. And I would go, you know, every time I was trying to add a level of depth, it just kind of didn't give me enough. And by the time I finished using this shade right here, the darkest brown, it kind of more looked like I just used this. Which, if I'm being given a shade that's that dark, I want it to be that. These shimmers were much more disappointing. They're more like very light, almost glittery, kind of like top coats, but even then, not very much. You'd put them on your lid and then you'd blink a couple of times and they would just dissipate off into the atmosphere. Just once again, this was not a formula that I felt merited even the $16, and especially when it's being sold and advertised as an alternative to get the same look as another palette. And so, quality aside, part of my big problem is like I said, while I understand the need and the viability of having affordable options, I do, to a certain degree, take object to the idea of companies literally looking at a palette and doing that copy and paste, because intellectual property is a thing. And while we may say that, Huda Beauty and Natasha Denona and all these other brands, charge too much for their eyeshadows, which, quite honestly, most brands do they deserve to have their creative property copy and pasted for someone else's profit? Were this, in the sense of art, or we were in school, writing essays, you get in a lot of trouble. But I feel like when it comes to makeup palettes, people are like, oh, well, it's okay, it's just a dupe, it's great it's great, quality for a lower price, so you don't have to buy the more expensive one. As I said, while I understand the need for the accessibility, I think there are much better ways to go about it than having companies whose only reason for existence is just ripping off other already existing color stories, themes, and layouts. I mean, if you just want more affordable, good eyeshadow, there are a myriad of wonderful, less expensive companies. I mean, go to ColourPop. They've got all kinds of singles. Find you a palette, take the coordinating singles, and make your own dupe palette. But do it without adding money to a company that has no creativity. I mean, come on, they're just copying. And I understand that, yes, I accepted the PR, and I feel like I've been kind of going back and forth between my moralistic standing on this point, and going through this and accepting the whatever just kind of helped me figure out and solidify my opinion on this whole matter, and that really is that I am not here to support dupe companies. I'm not saying just go and run and take your money to all of the brands that these companies are trying to dupe. I'm saying if you don't want to pay that much for eyeshadow, there are other better alternative ways to get that than, buying a knockoff palette. There's Juvia's Place, there's ColourPop, there's Makeup Geek, there's Colored Rain. There is a plethora of makeup companies that have good, high quality shadow singles, some of which that are more affordable, some that are mid-range, some that are higher price point. But if you are looking to curate a certain thematic palette, do that instead, because, whether we agree with the ethics of the company whose products are being duped, I mean, think of it as this way. You have put your hard work, you have put your love, you have poured your effort into creating something that is unique to your brand, to you, the layout, the color story, the art and everything. To simply have that be taken and marketed in a way that's like, well, oh, look, we can do it just as well, just as good for a less expensive price, which with these, no, they can't. I've tried Huda Shadows. I have the new nudes. I absolutely love that palette. This is a far cry. I don't have the Natasha Denona palette that this is, but I have tried a Natasha Denona formula, and that is a far cry too. Take your money and support real actual artists, people who are actually cultivating their makeup. You know, you don't have to take it to the big name brands, whatever. Go get you some indie makeup, get you some affordable makeup. But for me and my house and in my stance, I have decided to not support and not endorse and not really promote the idea of honestly stealing other people's creative content. So I'm sorry if that wasn't really, you know, the kind of video you were hoping to get. I know it was a little bit mishmash going left and right, but it is something that I wanted to really give y'all my stance on, because I had been kind of a little bit, it's a gray moral area. But as someone who is artistic and does the artsy stuff, you know, how would I feel if someone, you know, took my art, took my writing, you know, took a video, whatever, and you know, rehashed it, put it in different packaging and said, oh, look, I did this. I wouldn't be very happy. And I understand that, you know, morals and ethics vary depending on the person. But like I said, for me, from an artistic point of view, it just doesn't sit right with me. I will leave link down below a couple different sites where you can go and support and curate and get your own thing going on. I will leave the site as well, should you choose. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to make the decision for you. I would love to hear you all's opinions down below in the comments, whether you're like, hey, it's fine, it's a gray area, or whether you're agreeing with me or not. You know, we all have different opinions and different ethics and morals, and that's 110% okay. But thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and as always, keep it real. Mwah!